Don't even think about buying a Rolex Datejust until you check out this also Tissot alternative, which is only under $1,000. In this video, I will be showing you the Tissot Gentleman Powermatic 80 Silicium, which is an awesome alternative to the very popular and classic Rolex Datejust 41. But before we get into this comparison, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video right now to see more awesome watch content from this channel. So without further ado, let's go. Both models have very similar sized stainless steel cases. However, there are a few differences that must be noted. The Rolex Datejust has a 41mm case versus the Tissot's slightly smaller 40mm. This allows the Tissot's case to be more pleasing to a wider range of different sized wrists. However, I think the Rolex outdoes the Tissot in this category as they use their legendary oyster steel material compared to the standard 316L stainless steel used on the Gentleman. However, both cases are still very similar in regard to the aesthetics. This is because both models have very sleek looking smooth bezels. The Datejust's bezel is slightly different to the Tissot's as it is a bit more thicker and has a bit more presence on the case. Additionally, both cases have very similar thicknesses as the Rolex has an 11.8mm thickness and the Tissot having 11.5mm. The Datejust sports a classic and very versatile 20mm lug width, which is perfectly proportioned to the luxurious case. The Tissot's lug width are 21mm, which is a bit annoying as most strap options don't come in these 19, 21 or 23 sort of lug width measurements. Now what really stands out between the two is that they have also very similar blue dials. Rolex has this lovely sunray blue sunburst dial which really bursts off and looks amazing. Additionally, the Tissot has a bit more of a darker one which gradients from dark to light and then back to light. The indices on both of the models also look alike. However, the Tissot's indices are a bit more arrow-like and slender and they kind of taper into the blue dial. One thing that is actually noticeably different between the two models is the lugs themselves. This is because the Tissot's lugs are quite a bit longer and more slender than the more short and fat lugs on the Rolex. Now, let's compare the movements between these two Swiss automatic watches. The Rolex has a legendary 3235 automatic caliber, which is featured in many Datejust and different Rolex models. It has a beefy 70-hour power reserve and beats 28,000 vibrations per hour. It also has 31 joules and boasts Rolex's signature superlative chronometer status, which means it only has a plus minus of 2 seconds per day. The Rolex definitely has a very impressive movement, but the Tissot Gentleman's movement isn't far off either, and in some ways is actually better than the Rolex's movement. Tissot have opted for a Powermatic 80 11.5 caliber, which is based on an ETA automatic movement. This one actually has an 80-hour power reserve, meaning it has 10 more hours than the Rolex Datejust. However, this one beats far less than the Rolex as it only beats to 21,000 vibrations per hour. Additionally, it only has 25 joules compared to the Rolex's 31 joules. The Tissot has another leg up on the Rolex as it has a very special spring, which is their silicium model. This allows the Tissot's movement to be more anti-magnetic, which is also a very cool feature. Additionally, the Rolex does not have a see-through case back, which the Tissot does, meaning you can witness that cool ETA Powermatic 80 movement. Another thing which brings these two pieces together is that they both have very similar stainless steel bracelets. The Rolex has their legendary oyster steel material bracelet, which has a high polished middle link. Also, the Tissot's is almost identical to the Rolex's as it has a high quality stainless steel construction and has a high polished middle link as well. However, Rolex's quality is clearly superior due to the oyster steel construction, which is very scratch resistant. These two models also share some very similar characteristics, such as they both have 100 meters of water resistance. This makes both of the pieces very reliable and great everyday watches. Both have handy date complications, however, Tissot doesn't have the annoying cyclops that the Rolex does. Both models also share the inclusion of a sapphire crystal, meaning it is scratch resistant and will stand the test of time. Now, the question is raised, which one is the better value watch? Yes, the Rolex is $10,000, but it will last you a lifetime, which is a solid investment. However, the Tissot Gentleman is also very good value as it has comparable quality to the Rolex for 1/10 of the price. So in this instance, I would probably buy the Tissot Gentleman as a test drive to see later in my years if I want to buy a Rolex Datejust. Because from a distance, they both look very similar. However, the Tissot is definitely not a homage model and has its own characteristics. If you enjoy this comparison and also like watching other comparison of Rolex watches, click the videos on the screen right now to see some more awesome videos from this channel. Please make sure you like, comment and subscribe immediately. Thank you for watching and see you later.